Now we have completed case 1, case 2, case 3. Now let us discuss case number 4. Case number 4. Before discussing about the case number 4, let us draw our heart here. Let us consider this is our heart and this is our circulatory system. Now case 4. What is case 4 means? In case 4, cardiac output is normal. Cardiac output is normal. Second one is volume will be normal. Volume is normal. Cardiac output is normal, volume is normal, and capacity is also normal. Cardiac output is normal, volume is normal, capacity is normal. Now these three are normal, but where the problem is arising means there is presence of plaques. Let us consider these are the plaques. These blue color structures are plaques which causes the obstruction to the flow of the blood. Presence of plaques. Because of presence of the plaque, there is obstruction to the flow of the blood. Now, because of presence of the plaques within the circulatory system or heart, the shock which is arising because of obstruction, because of presence of plaque material, it is also called obstructive shock. This is called obstructive shock, which is because of presence of plaque material which causes the obstruction to the flow of the blood. This is obstructive shock, which is last type of shock. Let us discuss the causes of obstructive shock. Causes for obstructive shock. First one is cardiac tamponade. What is cardiac tamponade? Cardiac tamponade is nothing but accumulation of fluid within the pericardium is called cardiac tamponade. Accumulation of fluid, that is watery material, within the pericardium. If there is accumulation of watery material or fluid, it becomes difficult for the flow of the blood within the pericardium. So it results in obstruction. This is the first cause, that is cardiac tamponade. Now, if a person is suffering from cardiac tamponade, then there is a chance of three conditions. First one is increase in jugular venous pressure. Jugular venous pressure will be increased. JVP will be increased. Jugular venous pressure will be increased and blood pressure will be decreased. Second condition is blood pressure will be decreased. And third one is person who is suffering from cardiac tamponade is having distinct heartbeat. Distinct heartbeat. That is distinct heartbeat. First cause is cardiac tamponade. Again coming back. Fourth cause, case number 4 is obstructive shock because of presence of obstructions within the flow of the blood. The first cause is cardiac tamponade. What is cardiac tamponade? Is accumulation of fluids within the pericardium is called cardiac tamponade. Now, because of accumulation of fluid, it becomes highly impossible for the flow of blood within the circulatory system and it results in obstructive shock. Whenever person suffering from the obstructive shock, person experience increase in jugular venous pressure and blood pressure will be decreased and there will be distinct heartbeat. This is the first cause of obstructive shock. And second cause is tension pneumothorax. What is tension pneumothorax means? Accumulation of air within the. What is tension pulmothorax means? Accumulation of air within the lungs is called tension pulmothorax. Tension pulmothorax. Accumulation of air within the lungs is called tension pulmothorax. Now, third one is massive pulmonary embolism. Massive pulmonary embolism is nothing but accumulation of thrombus within the heart is called massive pulmonary embolism. This is one of the reason. And fourth one is atrial myxomia. Atrial myxoma. What is atrial myxoma is obstruction in the left ventricle is called atrial myxoma. If there is obstruction in the left atria, this is left atria and this is the right atria. If there is any accumulation or obstruction in the left atria, it results in atrial myxoma. It results in a obstructive shock. Now coming to the last cause is left atrial thrombus. Left atrial thrombus. This is the last cause. If there is accumulation of left thrombus material in the left atrium is called left atrial thrombus. This is the last case, that is case number 4. Cardiac output is normal, volume is normal, capacity is normal, but there is presence of plaques, any cholesterol fatty material within the circulatory system or heart which causes the obstruction to the flow of the blood is called obstructive shock. Causes are, first one is cardiac tamponade, where accumulation of fluids within the pericardium is called cardiac tamponade. And now a person who is suffering from cardiac tamponade experiences 3 properties. That is, first one, intrajugular venous pressure will be increased and the blood pressure will be decreased and there will be distinct heartbeat can be seen. This is cardiac tamponade. And tension thorax. Tension pneumothorax is nothing but accumulation of water within the lungs is called tension pneumothorax. And last one is massive pulmonary embolism. And fourth one is atrial myxoma. If there is any obstruction in the left atria is called atrial myxoma. And fifth one is left atrial thrombus. If there is presence of any thrombus in the left atrium, it causes the obstruction to the flow of the blood. So if all these causes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 5 causes results in obstruction in the flow of the blood within the heart and within the circulatory system. So the main motto of these causes is to create the obstruction for the flow of the blood. So it is called obstructive shock. So these are the 4 different cases of obstructive shocks. Now let us sum up the different types of shocks within 2 minutes. Circulatory shock. Let us discuss once again. Let us conclude the different types of shocks and mechanisms of shocks. First one is first type of shock, and second type of shock, and third type of shock, and fourth type of shock. There are 4 different types of shocks are present. The first type of shock is hypovolumic shock. Hypovolumic shock, where the volume will be decreased. Second one is cardiogenic shock. Cardiogenic shock. First one is hypovolumic shock. Second one is cardiogenic shock. And the third one is distributive shock. Distributive shock. This is a third type of shock which is called distributive shock. And the fourth type of shock is called obstructive shock. These are the four different types of shocks. That is, first one is hypovolemic shock, and we have discussed about the types of what is hypovolemic shock and causes for hypovolemic shock, and cardiogenic shock and causes for cardiogenic shock, and distributive shock and causes for distributive shock, and what are the shocks that can be studied under distributive shocks, and obstructive shock, what are the causes for obstructive shock. Now let us discuss about the stages of circulatory shock. Our topic is stages in circulatory shock. Stages which are present in circulatory shock. There are three different types of stages are present. Three stages are present. The first name of the first stage is non-progressive complement stage. Or it is also called non-progressive compensated stage. This is the first stage. What is non-progressive compensated stage or complement stage? Now let us consider a person who is met with an accident and person is bleeding. Now he need to take to the hospital. Whenever a person is suffering from bleeding, whenever a person undergone accident and if there is bleeding, now in his body initially if there is less amount of blood which is bleeded out from his body, certain compensated mechanisms will be activated. Now whenever the compensated mechanisms within the body is activated, what are certain compensated mechanisms are nothing but stimulation of sympathetic outflow. We will discuss that later in after a few minutes. Compensated mechanisms are nothing but stimulation of sympathetic outflow, renin-angiotensin system, ADH hormone, increase of ADH hormone, like that. This first one is non-progressive compensated mechanism. In this stage, a person who is suffering from bleeding, then certain compensated mechanisms will be activated. After certain activation, it will stop the bleeding process and helps in recovering the patient. Now, if the person fails in compensating that mechanism, it results to the second stage. What is the second stage is? Name of the second stage is progressive stage. Progressive stage. What is progressive stage? Now, as we know that in non-progressive compensated mechanism, in non-progressive compensated stage, certain compensated mechanisms will be activated. But if they fail to decrease the bleeding capacity, it results to second stage. What is second stage? Means progressive stage. In progressive stage, whatever the compensated mechanisms which are activated will be failed to activate. That is, renin-angiotensin system cannot activate, sympathetic outflow cannot activate, and ADH hormone cannot activate. In this way, this is progressive stage where compensated mechanism action will be decreased. If a person who is suffering, who is entered this stage, that is progressive stage, if he taken to the hospital, in progressive stage the person can be live, or person who is taken to the hospital in this condition, person can live. But if person fails in this progressive stage, he leads to the, or it may come to the third stage. What is the third stage means? Refractory or irreversible stage. Refractory stage or irreversible stage. Whenever in second stage we know that all the compensated mechanisms will be failed to work. So whenever it fails to work, it results to the third stage, that is irreversible stage. Whenever a person enters into the irreversible stage, all the cells will be damaged. That is enzymatic digestion will be taking place because of damage of, or because of activation of lysosomes. So we will discuss in detail. Whenever a person enters into the irreversible stage, or if a person who is in irreversible stage taken to the hospital, there is no chance of saving the person's life. He may undergo, compulsory he may undergo death process. So these are the three stages which can be seen in circulatory shock. That is, first one is non-progressive compensated stage, second one is progressive stage, and third one is refractory or irreversible stage. Now let us discuss about each and every stage in detail. First stage is non-progressive compensated stage. Non-progressive compensated stage. Non-progressive compensated stage. In non-progressive compensated stage, now let us consider a patient or a person who met with an accident and the blood is bleeding from his body. Now the flow amount of the blood which is present in the body will be decreased because of bleeding. So let us consider this is his circulatory system. Let us consider this is his circulatory system, and this is his central nervous system. Let us draw little bigger. This is his central nervous system and this is his cardiovascular system. Now, as person suffering from bleeding, the blood will be entered out. From the circulatory system, blood will be entering out. Because of bleeding process. Because of this bleeding process, the blood which is present inside the body will be moved out. So, in first stage, that is non-progressive compensated stage, what are the compensatory mechanisms can be seen? That means compensated mechanisms will be activated and results in saving the person's life. Now, what are the compensated mechanisms? Let us discuss first type of compensated mechanism. First type. First type of compensatory mechanism. What is the first type of compensatory mechanism? Whenever the person is bleeding, the volume of the blood inside the person will be decreased. Whenever the person blood is decreasing, Let us consider this is our heart. Now, whenever the volume of the blood inside the circulatory system is decreasing, the cardiac output will be decreased. How it will decrease mean the cardiac venous return to this heart will be decreased. Whenever the venous return is decreased, the cardiac output will also be decreased. Whenever there is cardiac output is decreased, stroke volume will be decreased. Whenever the stroke volume will be decreased, blood pressure will be decreased. Now, what is the first compensator mechanism which is seen in case of bleeding patient means? If there is bleed, let us consider person is bleeding. Now, these whenever the blood pressure is decreased, now it will send a signal to the central nervous system. It will send the signal to the central nervous system. So, whenever the central nervous system is activated, it will activate certain polyneuronal descending pathway will be activated. Polyneuronal descending pathway will be activated. So, whenever polyneuronal descending pathway is activated, it results in activation of sympathetic outflow. Let us consider this is sympathetic outflow. These are the preganglionic neurons and these are the postganglionic neurons. Now, this is the cardiovascular system. This is the heart, and here these are the veins and these are the arteries. These are the veins and these are the arteries. Now, whenever the blood pressure is decreased, it will send the signal to this central nervous system, and central nervous system will get activated and polyneuronal descending pathway can be seen. Whenever the polyneuronal descending pathway is activated, then it will activate the sympathetic outflow. Whenever the sympathetic outflow is activated, sympathetic neurons will be activated. So, these postganglionic neurons will be reaching towards the, let us consider, these neurons will reach towards the venules. It will reach towards the venules. It will reach the venules and it helps in constricting the smooth muscles. Whenever, once again, whenever these postganglionic neurons of sympathetic outflow is activated, these postganglionic neurons will activate the venules. So it results in contraction of the venules. So it acts as venoconstrictor. Whenever the sympathetic outflow is activated, it will act as the venoconstrictor. So whenever the veins are constricted, the flow of the blood from this will be increased. So venous return will be increased. Whenever the venous return is increased, the flow of the blood to the heart will be increased. Whenever the flow of the blood to the heart is increased, the cardiac output will be increased. When cardiac output is increased, stroke volume will be increased. Whenever the stroke volume is increased, ultimately the blood pressure will be increased. So in this way, the first mechanism is when there is activation of sympathetic outflow, it results in activation of blood pressure. This is the first condition, that is activation of sympathetic outflow. Activation of sympathetic outflow. This is the first compensatory mechanism, that is activation of sympathetic outflow. Now, that is the first mechanism. And coming to the second type of mechanism. What is the second mechanism? What is second compensatory mechanism? Now, let us consider same patient who is bleeding. Now, person who is bleeding, again person is bleeding. Now let us consider one this is one nephron, where here this is the glomerulus, efferent arteriole, and this is efferent arteriole. Now let us discuss about the second compensatory mechanism. Whenever the blood flow is decreased, whenever the blood pressure is decreased, the flow of the blood towards the kidneys will get decreased. Flow of the blood towards the kidneys will get decreased. Whenever there is flow of the blood towards the kidneys is decreased, there will be production of enzyme called renin. There is a production of renin. There is production of renin. Now, this renin will convert the angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. It converts into angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin. Angiotensinogen into angiotensin. Now, let us consider our lungs here. These are the lungs. Now this angiotensinogen 1 will convert into the angiotensin 2 inside the endothelial cells of the lungs. Let us consider these are the endothelial cells of the lungs. The endothelial cells of the lungs. Now, at these endothelial cells of the lungs, there is special enzyme called angiotensin converting enzyme, that is ACE enzymes. ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme, which converts angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. Now this angiotensin 2 will be moved in this way. Now whatever the angiotensin 2 which is formed will be helps in constricting the veins. It consists of smooth muscles. So this angiotensin 2 helps in venoconstrictor, helps as a venoconstrictor. Now whatever the angiotensin 2 which is formed will be helps as venoconstrictor, and if there is constriction of veins, the venous return will be increased, cardiac output will be decreased, and blood pressure will be increased. So in this way, this is a second type of mechanism that can be seen. Second mechanism is renin angiotensin aldosterone system. That is second mechanism. This is a second mechanism, that is renin angiotensin aldosterone system, which increases the blood pressure and decreases the bleeding. And coming to the third compensated mechanism. Third compensated mechanism. Now, what is third compensated mechanism is, there is over production of ADH hormone. There is overproduction of ADH hormone. Now, if there is overproduction of ADH hormone, there is, let us consider, if ADH hormone is more, now at the macula densa cells, there are special types of cells. These are macula densa cells, which helps in increasing the sodium concentration, and water concentration will be increased. Whenever the water concentration will be increased, ultimately there will be reabsorption of water will be taking place. Whenever the reabsorption of water is taking place, ultimately it increases the volume of the blood. Whenever the volume of the blood increases, ultimately there will be increase of blood pressure. In this way, third type of compensated mechanism of ADH hormone. Now, fourth type is fluid shift mechanism. Fluid shift mechanism. What is fluid shift mechanism means? Whatever the interstitial fluid which is present will be moved into the vascular compartment. So in this way, whatever the fluid which is present will be moved into the interstitial area. Sorry, whatever the fluid which is present in the interstitial place will be moved into the vascular compartment. So in this way, whenever the fluid moving from interstitial area to the vascular compartment, ultimately there will be increase of volume of the blood. Volume of the blood is increased, so venous return will be increased, cardiac output will be increased, and blood pressure will be increased. So this is the fourth type of compensated mechanism, and the last type is reverse stress relaxation mechanism. Reverse stress relaxation mechanism. So these are the 5 different types of compensated mechanisms which can be seen in non-progressive compensated stage. That is, whenever person is bleeding, there will be activation of sympathetic outflow. Whenever the sympathetic outflow is activated, it will work as the venoconstrictor and constrict the veins and results in increase in the blood pressure. That is first one. Second one is renin-angiotensin mechanism. It produces the renin. In this way, whatever the angiotensin 2 which is formed will act as venoconstrictor and increases the blood pressure. And third one is ADH. Whenever the ADH is present, it will increase as the reabsorption of water. So whenever the reabsorption of water is taking place, it will increase the volume of the blood. And fourth one is fluid shift. Whatever the fluid which is present in the interstitial space will be moving towards the vascular compartment. So whenever it is moving towards the vascular compartment, the volume of the blood will be increased. So, and last one is reverse stress relaxation. So these are the 5 different types of compensated mechanisms which are seen in first stage, that is non-progressive compensated state. So these mechanisms can be taking place whenever the person who is bleeding is taken to the hospital within short period of time. So this mechanism is taking place in all the type of peoples. Now, if all the 5 different types of compensated mechanisms are failed to activate, it results in second stage, that is progressive compensated or progressive stage. What is progressive stage? Second stage, that is second one is progressive stage. What is progressive stage means? There will be no activation of renin-angiotensin system, there is no outflow of sympathetic outflow. Now, in progressive stage, the flow of the blood will be decreased. So whenever the flow of the blood will be decreased, what are the characteristic features of progressive stage means? Whenever the flow of the blood is decreased, oxygen supplied to the blood or oxygen supplied to the tissues will be decreased. So whenever the oxygen supplied to the tissues is decreased, it results in hypoxia. First condition is it results in hypoxia. This is the first condition. So whenever there is decrease of oxygen, it results in hypoxia. Now if there is again decrease of hypoxia because of absence of oxygen, now pyruvic acid will convert into lactic acid. Whatever the lactic acid which is present, there will be increase of lactic acid secretion. Lactic acid secretion inside the body will be increased. So this is the second characteristic feature of progressive stage. And third characteristic feature of progressive stage is let us consider these are the endothelial cells. These endothelial cells of separator system will release nitric oxide. Will release the nitric oxide. Nitric oxide will be released. That is, nitric oxide concentration will be increased. Whenever the nitric oxide concentration will be increased, it will act as vasodilator. It will act as a vasodilator, and whatever the lactic acid is also present, it will also act as a vasodilators. So in this way, in first mechanism, in non-progressive stage, all the phenomena which takes place, all the compensated mechanism which takes place results in vasoconstriction. But in this stage, all it results in vasodilation. It is harmful to the patient. If there is vasodilation, the venous return will be decreased. The flow of the blood will be in reverse manner. So whenever it is dilated, the flow of the blood will be decreased, and cardiac output will be decreased. It results in decrease of blood pressure. So in this way, these are the three characteristic features. Now, next characteristic feature is there will be production of toxins within the gastrointestinal tract. GIT toxin. These are the there are certain toxic molecules which are synthesized within the gastrointestinal tract during this progressive stage. So, whenever a person who is not taken to the hospital within short period of time, the non-progressive stage may convert into the progressive stage. In non-progressive stage, whatever the mechanisms, compensated mechanisms which are taking place, if it takes place in correct manner, the patient will be saved. But if the person is not taken to the hospital within short period of time, that non-progressive stage may convert into the progressive stage. If person enters into progressive stage, he may undergo hypoxia. If there is hypoxia, volume oxygen supply to the blood will be decreased. And if a person enters into the progressive stage, the pyruvic acid may convert into the lactic acid. There will be more accumulation of lactic acid. This lactic acid will act as vasodilators. Again, when a person enters into the progressive stage, these endothelial cells will secrete the nitric oxide. This nitric oxide will act as a vasodilator. So, and whenever a person enters into the progressive stage, gastrointestinal tract will produce special toxins which helps in decreasing the flow of the blood, which decreases the oxygen binding capacity to the blood. So in this way, it results in decreasing the work of compensated mechanisms in progressive stage. So if a person who is not taken to the hospital within short period of time, he may enter into the progressive stage. Even whenever person enters into the progressive stage, if a person is stuck in a traffic, there is no chance of entering into the hospital. Again, whenever traffic is cleared, again there is 15 km. Let us consider there is 15 km. After 15 km, there is hospital. Now, this progressive stage, person may enter into the refractory or irreversible stage. What can be seen? What are the characteristic features of irreversible stage? Let us discuss the characteristic features of irreversible stage. Now the last stage, that is refractory or irreversible stage. Refractory stage or irreversible stage. What are the characteristic features of irreversible stage? Whenever the person enters into the irreversible stage, now there is no chance of person to survive. There is 100% there will be death of the person. So what are the characteristic features of irreversible stage means? Now let us consider this is one cell. Let us consider this is one cell which is entered into the irreversible stage. Now what are the characteristic features which can be seen in this irreversible stage means, whenever the person which is entered into the irreversible state, let us consider this is one cell, and here let us consider this is his circulatory system, and whenever the person which is entered into the irreversible stage, first condition that can be seen is there will be decrease in ATP level. Concentration of ATP within the cell will be decreased. So concentration of ATP will be decreased. Again, let us consider these are the calcium channels. So whenever there is decrease of ATP and whenever the person is entering into the irreversible stage, ultimately automatically there will be opening of calcium channels. So whenever there is opening of calcium channels, there will be calcium will be entered into the cells. There will be more accumulation of calcium within the cell. So whenever there is accumulation of calcium within the cell, now let us consider this is lysosome. Now these lysosomes consist of lysosomal enzymes. Let us consider this is lysosomes, and whatever the calcium which is entered will hydrolyze this lysosomal enzymes. So whenever it is hydrolyzing, lysosomal enzymes will be released out. These lysosomal enzymes will be released out, and it helps in hydrolyzing. How it hydrolyzes means it attacks the genetic material. It will attack the genetic material and results in death of the cell. And let us consider this is mitochondria. There will be death of the mitochondria. How? Now there is death of the mitochondria. Now if there is decrease in ATP, this ATP will convert into ADP. Now this ADP will convert into AMP. This AMP will convert into adenosine plus phosphate. Whenever the phosphate is digested, it releases only adenosine. So whenever this adenosine is formed, this adenosine will enter into the circulatory system. this adenosine will enter into the circulatory system. The adenosine, whenever this enter into the circulatory system, this adenosine cannot convert into, again it cannot, they do not have capacity to convert into adenosine monophosphate, and there is no production of ATP. In this way there is death of the cells. It undergoes death process. So whenever it leads to the irreversible stage, compulsory there will be depletion of ATP, and there is lysosomal enzyme dissociation, and there is death of this mitochondria, and there will be degeneration of genetic material. In this way the person will be undergoes death process by natural death process, by cell death process. This is the characteristic feature, that is in irreversible stage ATP there will be depletion of ATP, and there is more influx of calcium ions, and there is lysosomal enzyme digestions, and it undergoes hydrolysis, and this adenosine will reaches to the circulatory fluid, and this adenosine which is entered into circulatory fluid cannot undergo further process. In this way this undergoes death process. Whenever person enters into the irreversible stage, and even if person if present in irreversible stage, at this condition person will reaches to the hospital. There is less chances of person or saving. There is less percentage of saving of, there is less chance of saving of this person. In this way, if person enters into the irreversible stage, he may undergo a death process. In this way, it results in circulatory shock. This is the stages in circulatory shock. First one is non-progressive shock, second one is progressive shock, and third one is irreversible shock. We have discussed about the shock, what is shock and definition of shock, and mechanisms, different types of shocks, that is hypovolemic shock, cardiogenic shock, and distributive shock and obstructive shock, and what are the causes of the 4 different types of shocks, and what are the stages which are present in shock. That is, first one is non-progressive compensatory stage, second one is progressive stage, and third one is irreversible stage. We have discussed about the characteristic features of this irreversible stage, and what are the compensatory mechanisms, and what are the stages, what are the steps which takes place in progressive stage. Now we will discuss about the septic shock. Now let us discuss one of the important topic, that is septic shock. What is septic shock? Before discussing about the septic shock, there are certain terminologies to be discussed. That is, first one is bacteremia. Second one is septicemia. And third one is endotoxemia. What is bacteremia? Bacteremia is nothing but entering of bacteria inside our cell is called bacteremia. What is septicemia means? Septicemia is nothing but whatever the bacteria which is entered into the cell may have capacity to undergo the replication process. It is called septicemia. Endotoxemia is nothing but what are the endotoxins which are present in the gram-negative bacteria causes the toxic effect, that is called endotoxemia. So what are the with another term, that is pyomia. What is pyomia is nothing. What is pyomia means? Movement of pus from interstitial fluid to the circulatory system. Movement of pus from interstitial fluid to the circulatory system is called pyomia. And next one is empyemia. What is empyema means? Localized collection of pus within the epithelial cells. What is empyema means? Collection of pus in the epithelial cells is called empyema. The next one is abscess. What is abscess means? Collection of pus. What is difference between empyema and abscess means? In empyema, there will be collection of pus within the epithelial cells is called empyema. What is abscess means? Collection of pus inside the body is called abscess. Now, let us discuss about the endotoxins. How the septic shock may cause means because of one reason is because of endotoxins. In which type of bacteria the endotoxins are present means in gram-negative bacteria endotoxins are present. Now, let us consider this is one gram-positive bacteria. This is the cell wall, and just above the cell wall it consists of peptidoglycans. These are the peptidoglycans, multiple layers of peptidoglycans. These are peptidoglycans which are internally connected by glycans. In this way they are connected to each other. They are connected to each other. This is gram-positive bacteria. Now, let us discuss gram-negative bacteria. This is a cell wall of gram-negative bacteria, and it also consists of peptidoglycans. But less layers of peptidoglycans when compared to the gram-positive bacteria. The difference between the gram-positive bacteria and gram-negative bacteria is presence of external lipid layer. This is lipid A. Now, it's a lipid bilayer which consists of two layers. Let us consider these are two layers. Let us consider this is lipid A, and here this is core sugar. These are the core sugar molecules along with phosphates. Let us consider these are the phosphates. Now, lipid A, that is these three, that is phosphates, core sugars plus lipid A. These three combination is called endotoxins, which is called endotoxins. Now, these are endotoxins which are a unique feature of gram-negative bacteria which is not present in gram-positive bacteria. Now, these endotoxins will causes the septic shock. How these endotoxins may result in septic shock means, now let us discuss the mechanism of endotoxins in causing the septic shock. Let us consider one macrophage. Let us consider this is one macrophage. Let us consider this is one macrophage. Which this is a nucleus, and there is a special receptor which is present on macrophage. This is a special receptor which is present in on surface of macrophage, that is CD14 receptor. The name of this receptor is CD14 receptor. Now this lipoprotein, sorry, this lipopolysaccharide will reach the, this lipopolysaccharide will reach the, let us consider this is lipopolysaccharide. Let us consider this is lipopolysaccharide will attach to this lipopolysaccharide will attach to the CD14 marker, CD14 receptor which is present on macrophage. Now whenever lipopolysaccharide is attached to the CD4 marker, then it will activate another type of special type of receptors. On surface of macrophage there are special types of receptors. Let us consider these are the T type of receptors, that are tau-like receptors. Name of this is tau-like receptors. It will activate these T cell tau-like receptors. So it will activate these tau-like receptors. Whenever these tau-like receptors are activated, it will send the intercellular signals. It will activate the intercellular signals. Now these intracellular signals will activate the genetic material. It will activate the genetic material. As we know that in genetic material, this is the genetic material. Let us consider this is genetic material. Whenever it is activated, it may undergo transcription and translation process. It forms mRNA. Now this mRNA will undergo translation process which results in formation of proteins. Let us consider this is proteins. Now these proteins which are formed are called cytokines. What are the proteins which are formed by the macrophages are called cytokines. Now normally what is the function of cytokines means, the normal function of cytokines is it will activate C3A and C5A complementary protein, that is C3A and C5A complementary proteins, and it involves in inflammation process. It involves in inflammation process. And third one is it involves in phagocytosis. It results in phagocytosis in normal condition. This is in normal condition. Whenever cytokines are produced, it results in activation of C3A and inflammation and phagocytosis. That is in normal condition. First one in normal condition. Let us discuss second condition, that is in moderate condition. This is normal condition. This is the function of in normal condition. If this activity takes place in moderate conditions, then it results in production of proteins called acute phase proteins. These are the special types of proteins which are harmful to our body. Acute phase proteins. This is function of macrophages. This is a function of lipopolysaccharides in moderate phase. But if we discuss about in excessive action of these lipopolysaccharides, first one, that is last one, is excess. First one is, if there is excess activation of T cell receptors, if there is more production of these cytokines, then what is the first function is vasodilation. This is the first condition. Whenever the vasodilation is taking place, it results in decrease of blood pressure. That is the first condition, that is vasodilation. And if there is excess of production of cytokines, second type of disease is these cytokines will enter into the pulmonary circulation. That is, it will enter into the pulmonary circulation. It will enter into the pulmonary circulation and will result in a condition called ARDS. What is ARDS means? Adult respiratory distress syndrome. Adult respiratory distress syndrome. It results in adult respiratory distress syndrome. And third characteristic feature is, whenever there is excessive production of cytokines, it will work as cardiac suppressants. Cardiac suppressants. So this is a third characteristic feature. And the fourth characteristic feature is DIC. What is DIC means? Disseminated intramuscular coagulation, where the coagulation will be stopping, that is distressed intramuscular coagulation. So whenever the DIC is taking place, it will convert the fibrinogen into fibrin. So there will be more accumulation of fibrin material. Because of accumulation of fibrin material, it results in anticoagulation mechanism. So this is the fourth mechanism. And the fifth characteristic feature is multi-organ damage. Multi-organ damage. These are the characteristic features of septic shock if there is excessive production of cytokines. So these are the characteristic features which can be seen in septic shock. If they normally cytokines are produced, it results in activation of C3 and C5a and involves in inflammation process and involves in phagocytosis. But if in moderate phenomena, it will activate the acute phase proteins. But if it is excess, it results in vasodilation and it results in ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and it works as cardiac suppressants. If there is cardiac suppressants, there will be cardiac output will be decreased and there will be failure of the heart. So, and next one is disseminated intramuscular coagulation, and last one is multi-organ damage. If there is multi-organ damage, how the multi-organ damage is taking place means these cytokines will enter into the central nervous system and will damage the brain. Whenever the brain is damaged, then ultimately it decreases in multi-organ damage. So these are the steps which takes place in septic shock, and this is the result of septic shock. So we have completed the circulatory shock topic.